All right, so today I'm a little tired. I just want to do a little bit of a relaxing game. So that's what I'm hoping for today. So no extra variations or anything today. We'll just talk about the game and hopefully my opponent plays nice and simple. But you never really know. We're doing a 7Q game, so let's just get into it. All right, so we got a game, and we are white this time. And like I said, I want to do a simple game, and they are starting with tengen. We'll see what they want to do. I'm kind of curious if they're going to invade my 3-3, so I'm going to start with a 4-4 here. I want to know what their plan is necessarily. Okay, good. They're not just invading right away. They're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to do a 3-4 on the other side just because I don't want to do all 4-4s. Okay. Now they have done all 4-4s. Something that they could do is they could take the San Rinsei now, which would not really make it perfect, but it would kind of work with what they have. So if you really wanted to disrupt their opening, you could try to split right now. But what I really like to do is I like to just enclose a corner. The 3-4 point is a little bit more efficient than a 4-4, so I'm very happy to do that. Instead of just taking the San Rinsei, they decided to sort of develop towards the bottom and reduce my enclosure, which is a good move. Because they have this extension, I also want to reduce them by getting rid of their enclosure. So if we want to be super simple and try to make the tengen stone not as useful, we could jump right now and try to break it up. But I think I'm always okay with just playing the standard move, which would be going into the 3-3 at this point. I'm just going to make sure my opponent is the one who has to deal with everything, and I don't have to worry about anything. Because if all my groups are strong and I have territory, then maybe we can test out invading a little bit later. This is just the standard Joseki. I have to make sure to jump here, of course. But something this is doing is it's making the stone they originally played in a slightly awkward spot. Because it's not really able to make territory. So what they should be doing, which is what it looks like, is they should be trying to connect those stones as best they can. I think I will extend one more time because I want to separate if possible. Just turning would be really nice, so I'm just going to extend. And they're going to keep it this way. All right. Well, my group is strong enough. I don't really have to keep going. And maybe I want this cut at some point. Could bump as well. They have a decent amount of influence. So let's go over to the top right corner and see how they respond here. The most normal move that I would expect is the attach on top. That would be really good. Pushing through here now is not really important, but we will answer. And then they pulled back, which doesn't really make any sense. They're very, very much afraid of us doing some sort of invasion here, which is possible, but if they just answered and got stronger on the top side, then they wouldn't have had to worry about it anyway. We could go into the corner again, but they'll get more influence. So the other option, not the most simple, but the other normal option is to do a double approach. This makes it so we're likely to break up the area. But another simple way to do it is also to jump, because we're just focused on reducing. I'll do the double approach this time. The idea behind the double approach is that if they do not answer, we're able to surround them with one move. And in this case, they decided to answer. So I like to Hane at least once, see how they respond. If they extend, connect is okay, I guess. But if they extended, then we would take the corner. Since they connected, we could protect our own cutting point and treat this separately. Or we could extend to try to take control of the center a little bit more. I think protecting our cutting point, which is also making us a little bit of a base on the top side, is going to be the simpler way to play here. And now it's up to them to deal with my stone that is in their area. I do not mind answering, because we're threatening to surround their corner. And we are just going to continue to surround by jumping here. This peep is probably okay. We'll just answer, keep our stones connected. So now they're not exactly alive in the corner, but we need to get rid of our cutting points here. So they can hane, and if we cut, they can just extend, and now we have potentially 2 weak groups. Since they're alive in the corner, or very close to alive in the corner, we should always make sure to fix our aji before we go in to try to do something else. The simplest move is just like a jump here, for example. If they hane, we block. If they do this one, we atari, they connect, we connect. That's good enough. We'd also do like a diagonal. Which one do I like the most? I think I'll just do the jump. Make it very simple. It's like nothing protects it perfectly, so I just want to do the shape that I understand the most. They're going back to this now, which is okay. I'm going to turn here because this is going to fix my shape a little bit. Because if they hane and try to push through, we do have technically a cutting point. So if we fix that now, then we don't have to worry about it in the future. And now we want, since we do have a nice wall here, we do want an extension from that wall. So I'm going to enclose the corner. Pushing there is curious. We don't need to answer. It's not important at all. So we can just take another extension from our area. We have an enclosure and no real extension yet. It's kind of too far to call the other one and the other move here an extension. This is sort of like a separate group. So I'm going to play another move here in the center-ish to make it an extension. So now they're trying to take advantage of this shape. I understand what they're trying to do. That's pretty good. So we just need to make sure they can't cut us. So the thing we have to read is if they hane here and we block and they push in here, we have to block again. And they can connect. So it doesn't quite work for us. So I'm going to do this hane. So that way when they hane here, we block, they push through, it's a double atari. So I'm going to atari down. If they extend, then we go along with it. Like this. Yep. Because we're protecting our cutting point, and we're going to be fighting a little bit here. It's probably going to be a little bit more complicated than I wanted it to be. I'm going to see if I can simplify it in this fight here. They are just pushing here. Extending would be okay. Sort of trying to keep this group surrounded. Connecting would also be okay, but then they can jump away very quickly. Usually you want to stay ahead of your opponent whenever you can. So if we extend here, we're going to kind of try to stay ahead of this group. I think that should be fine. Extend or connect. Let's do the simpler move, actually. Because if we do get ahead, maybe they can use this atari. They can try to capture something. Let's just not worry about it. So I don't know if we want to jump here where they can push and cut us. So let's just jump a little bit further back where there's no cut. We still want to run away because this is our weaker group. Yep, we can just extend again here. Or we can play the shape point, which is this one, which is kind of a fun move. But I'm just going to extend. This is sort of like a vital point or tesuji, this sort of breaking the bamboo thing. They're trying it a lot here. It's only really good if this wedge can work to cut something off. And it doesn't really work right now because I have the ladders going over to my side of the board here. And I do not want them to connect up, so I will hane here. And I'm just going to keep pushing and see what they decide to do. So there is aji here for me and for him. And I kind of want to try to use that as best I can. I want to play this block here at some point, because it would just be really nice if I could get it. That gives me an eye. But I also don't want to let my opponent get too strong either. So I could try to clamp here, peep here, try to do something special here. Because I don't know how useful that is, I'm just going to play this move to make sure I have at least one eye on the top. Because I know I'll be able to make another eye on the other side over here. Or in this little spot here at N15. So I'm going to prioritize the safety of my group instead of really trying to be too severe with the attack. The fact that I'm keeping his group surrounded is probably going to be more than enough profit for me. And this is where I'm going to continue to keep them surrounded for sure. I have a really clean knight's move to surround everything. The only thing we have to really see is if there's a push and cut. So they push, they Atari me, and then they extend, and then we can jump out if we really need to. They need to come back and save their group first, so this is going to be fine. Yep, just keep it blocked. Yep, exactly what I was saying. Yep, connect everything. Right now we can capture this stone, so it's not doing too much to us, I guess. Not that it's not in danger. We're not in danger yet. So I will Hane here first. That's sort of where the base point is for everything. So it feels nice. And usually when someone attaches to you, you Hane, they extend, then you play this F16 move to bother the shape. That's the standard shape here. Oh, interesting. They played a very questionable move because now we're able to push into their area. We should make sure that we are strong on the outside before we do anything. If they wedge, we Atari, they connect, we can connect in some way. Then they cut us, we can Atari down, and it's still a ladder for now. Since this is still a ladder, we are still safe on the outside, so I will push in here to get rid of the eye shape. They should have just blocked directly, which was the better move. I am fine with connecting. Don't want them to capture that stone. If we messed up and they got to capture this stone and they ended up living instead, we'd be losing points. So even if they end up living now, we're fine to let them do something like this. But in this case, they're actually not alive. No matter what they do, they can only make one eye here locally. So now our goal is not necessarily to throw in and try to kill or try to do anything special right now. We need to make sure that our other group is currently alive. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to slide over here to make sure that we have at least 3 different eyes, right? We have the one eye on top here. We have a potential eye on this left side over here, or this middle side over here. And then we're going to get another eye right here as best we can. And the problem for my opponent right now is that we do have this Atari, which is really comfortable for us to make eyes, to do a bunch of stuff. So we're going to Atari here first. Their cutting point here is not important. And then we can just fly away, doing a knight's move here, and just make our second eye. We need 4 in a row to make a second eye. That's all we need. Okay, we're going to get 4 in a row. And actually 5 in a row is slightly better. We won't need another move. So I'm fine with Haneing here. Now we also have the ability to push out, depending on how they answer right now. So they should probably just connect. Yeah, that's a good move. So now if they play this one, where my mouse pointer is right now, and we connect, they Hane, and we still have this eye here in the middle. And we now have an eye on the top. We now have this eye in the middle. So we're good to go. And we can start playing bigger moves. Before we play anything that's too big, like trying to reduce or trying to do anything special, I'm going to get rid of the Aji of this stone on the top here at E13. So in order to get rid of that Aji, I'm just going to be jumping up from this point to make sure that if they try to run this stone out, it's going to be in a way that we will be okay with. All right, so this Hane here, we do have to be a little bit careful because if they do this wedge and we block and they Atari, this is a snapback shape. It's very good to try to recognize this. So I'm going to fix that by turning here first because now the snapback is gone. Do we need to worry about this anymore? Not really. Looks like there isn't too much we really need to worry about. We can Tanuki now. If you're really worried about this area, you can add one more move. This would be the move you'd want to play. So if you can't read it out, you can't quite be sure of what's going on, any of that sort of stuff, just play one more move to defend. Always just do that. It's always going to be fine. In this case, I'm going to play on the bottom side now. This is sort of the next big area. It's the last extension we can really make on the board. So that's where I'm going to go for it. They're trying to really turn this into something. We can block from the outside. We don't block from the inside. That would be an Atari on our own stones. And then here we just ladder this. We do not Atari. We ladder this stone. Yep. This is just the ladder here. I could see what they were trying to do. So it's cool to see that they were trying to follow through with it. It is a complicated reading thing. We're just going to capture here. We don't capture on the inside. That'd be bad. The inside would make it a snap back again, and we can connect. The cool part about this, though, is because they're playing some moves on the inside of our area as well, we aren't really losing points from any of this. I don't like to block with this move because it leaves me that empty triangle shape. So I'm going to extend one time to get rid of that empty triangle. There we go. Now when we block, it's just straight line. It's not too big of a deal, but also being on the second line like this means that they can't cut. We're able to capture the stone directly. If I was trying to maximize my points, I would potentially try to think of the best way to... interesting, they want to do a double Atari here. I would potentially think of the best way to try to get some extra points in an area, but since this area is ours anyway, it's always better to play the safest type of move. And the safest type of move is the cleanest looking shape. Here we can do a double Atari, and we're pretty happy with that. We already have 2 eyes, so we may as well double Atari. Okay. We still throw in here. If they Atari us, we capture, and they need to play in 2 spots in order to get rid of this as the other eye. So it doesn't really do anything. They are trying to sort of trick us in some way, which I think is a good idea. I'm not against that at all. If you can't read it out, it's okay to give it up. Yep. We do not even need another move here because we already have 2 eyes. They can't get rid of both eyes here. And they can't get rid of, well, they can't get rid of the 1 eye here, and they can't get rid of the 1 eye here. And again, if you're not sure, you can play again. But they can't get rid of them, so I'm not going to worry about it. I am actually just going to jump up. I wanted to push and cut, potentially. But instead of pushing and cutting, we're just going to jump up and sort of make more points here while reducing the center to a little bit. Something you might notice compared to the 10Q games we played is our opponents are very much focused on our weakness versus before, where they were sort of thinking about other things. There we go. Just make sure we have 2 eyes. Keep answering them. I want to say other things like they're focused on just taking their own territory or just taking away our territory. But something that's kind of nice here is that they really tried to take advantage of our shape in the middle, and they're really trying to find a way to kill this group. Even though it's not possible, they're trying to find the way. And as a stronger player, that's when you get to the point of like, you know what's possible and what's not possible before you try it. But as a lower ranked player, you just have to try it and see what happens. In this case, this isn't even a move I have to answer. So here we could actually just cut off this 1 stone, which could be kind of fun. So I think I will do that. Our corner is alive. I already know it's alive, so I'm not really too worried. And I don't know if I want to do this way, but what's the cleanest one? I think I'll just extend. Even if I'm only reducing, this is going to be nice. Trying to do something special here. So if we honey over the top and they pull back, and we extend, and then they push, and they cut, and they go to live, and like there's a bunch of stuff going on here. That could work. But in this case, I think we can actually play the tiger's mouth. If they block, we Atari, and then they only have 3 liberties, and we have 3 liberties. We can make more liberties. So we should be fine. But if you can't really read that, it is okay to give up some points in order to reduce more of this center. So let's just do that. Make it really simple. They're doing something not very good. I thought for a second they might try to fight back. And if they do that, I was going to just give up the 2 stones and take the center area. But in this case, we can just Atari, and we capture the 2 stones. So I'm very happy with that. Capture. There's nothing they can do. They should not have pushed up here. They need to just connect their group. Their topside group. We have to make sure they can't capture those 3 stones. That would be bad. But I already know from experience that there's just not enough room here to live. So we can just block this other eye here. And I could have tried to read that out to make sure, but this is good enough. I want to make sure they know that they can't live. Trying to kill me here in the corner because they should recognize that this is close to a dead shape, as in the J group. It's not quite the same though. However, in this sort of situation, a really nice clean move that you can always play is this one here, where we're protecting the cutting point and making multiple eyes. It's also a good move you can potentially play in endgame. Yep, block here. Yeah, there's no way for them to kill me here. I will just block again. Because even if they get rid of my... they can't really get rid of the eye, but even if they could try to do that, it's kind of difficult actually to even figure anything out. But if they turn this into a Seki, it doesn't matter. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to say there, but if they're trying to turn it into a Seki, it doesn't matter if their group is dead. And they've kind of turned it into a Seki, so I'm guessing that was the goal. It's not exactly one, but I will capture here because I can. Yep, capture. I got some text messages that distracted me a little bit there, but yeah, there's nothing here. I don't need to answer. I don't need to play another move because if they play on the inside, I capture. If I play on the inside, I can still capture, but if I lose this liberty, I can't anymore. So it is a Seki type shape, and they don't have two eyes with this group, which means that it's not a Seki. I just have points. So now we can get back to sort of probably making the left side solidly and then also reducing. I like a move over here. I'm going to play this Knight's move because if they Hane, I can cut now. Whereas if I did the jump, they could Hane and then I'd have to back off. So this looks like a way to try to get more points locally. Yep, we need to make sure we are alive. So I will do the eye making move here. If we extend up, there's an Atari. If we play anything else, there could be a Hane. So we need to make the eye directly. Sure, we can connect. I think we had two places to make eyes, but I don't really want to give them an Atari anywhere. So I'm going to keep it simpler for myself. That doesn't do anything. We had this as a potential eye based on if we lost the top, but we didn't lose the top. We still have that. And if they Hane here and Hane here, we still have this middle eye because we have 5 in a row. So we can Tanuki again. We're probably just going to reduce this middle area a little bit more. Keeping it very simple where I'm just coming in from where I'm already at and trying to just build a little bit. So I think that makes it a little bit easier for me. You could try to apply a special move somewhere, but there's no need. I'm going to extend. If I Atari, maybe there's some sort of special technique. If I don't want to leave any special techniques available for my opponent, I just don't want to leave any cutting points. So extending here is getting rid of the cutting points. Yep, just extend again. So the easiest place for my opponent to live is on the side of the board. So I want to make it so the side of the board is difficult. So I'm actually going to block the side off. I don't want them to reach that point. Yep, so we're going to keep blocking the side. We don't want them to touch it. Okay, they're trying to get there. The easiest way is probably just to capture a stone. Usually when you're in this situation where they have a crosscut, if you can capture a stone on either side, then you should just capture one of the stones. So you just have to see what's going to hurt you the most. If we capture here, they Atari down. We connect. They connect. Maybe get to this side. I think I'd rather have them come to the corner. So I'm going to Atari this way. Yep, connect on top. Make sure our group is strong. And then I'm just going to capture right away because I don't want them to put on the side anymore. And we don't want to let them, again, no, we don't want to let them on the side. We don't want to let them break into our corner. If they end up living, that'd be really terrible. So we just play down, prevent the side move. No base for our opponent here. And bump here is the standard move here. Make sure there's no cutting points. And we just need to keep our stones connected. Our stones are already connected, so we don't really need to worry about that anymore. But I'm fine with playing one more move here. It doesn't really bother me. Yep, just connect. They need enough space to make more than a bulky 5. We'll just connect again. And they only have this 4 shape here, so that seems a little difficult. We'll extend here to get rid of the Hane, which could make an eye. This is just an end game move, which we don't even have to answer technically, but we will answer. This is why I decided to keep the groups connected, like 100% connected. It seemed to make things a little bit easier, in my opinion. There's nothing here. If they push underneath, we just keep jumping. There's no eyes to be made on the first line. So the only potential eyes that they could make here are with this sort of small area here. It's going to play one move to just sort of clean that up. Make sure there's no eye shape there. And there's no problems anymore. So we can continue to jump out over here if we want to. Or we could even play just a nice big move like this, threatening to come in some way. This should be fine. This should really highlight the fact that we do have two eyes here. Yep. I made sure everything was perfectly connected with no aji. There's no weird cutting points. There's no weird anything. So now I have nothing to worry about. And that's not even really threatening to do anything. But to make it very simple, we can always throw in like this, which is a nice Atari. If they connect, then we hane, and it is a sort of like a snapback type shape. This also doesn't do anything. Let's just continue to jump into their area. Hane over the top seems slightly better. Cutting it off would also be fine. Either one, either hane is going to be okay. And I'm going to keep this connected. And when they cut here, we'll be able to Atari and push, which is also doing what I want it to do, which is reduce this area. So we're giving up one stone to make sure they don't really have any points at all, except for this little small place. And they even lose something over here to some extent if we want to, but we will just connect. Let them decide how they want to do it. We'll just jump over. Again, all we're focused on here is just reducing all this. And we can even do a nice tiger's mouth threatening a double Atari, because it's kind of fun. But we're almost here at the end. They probably should be wrapping it up. And there's nothing that we really have to focus on here. So let's just take some big moves here, like this turn. They can't really block because it's a double Atari. Then we can just do a hane and connect. And I think that's going to be basically the end of the middle game or end game here. And we just don't want to try this Atari because it's an Atari on our own stones. We have to try from the outside. That's very, very important. Always pay attention to your liberties, even all the way to the end. It can be very easy to mess up at the very end of the game. We don't even really need to answer, but when we answer like this, we're sort of showing them that there's nothing there. There we go, he resigned. All right, so I thought this was kind of an interesting game, and there was only really one spot where I very much wanted to show how my opponent could have played a little bit better, because I think they were doing okay, honestly. They were building up a large area. They were keeping their stones connected, right? They didn't just let me cut the bottom side. And then I got to approach here. But then they got worried about me invading, but it's already too early to invade anything. There's no reason to do it. So they pushed here and defended this to try to get rid of me trying to do something there. But it was, as I said, it was definitely too early. Now I do get to invade, and now I do get to hurt their entire area. So I've gotten a very large lead at this point. But what they should just do, which I mentioned in the game, is they should have just attached on top here. If we play the standard sort of Joseki, we'll even play this. We'll play the attached for fun. Even if we are able to reduce a little bit on this side, there's this it's a very, very large side. So as black here, I may even just play another move, and I will have to deal with trying to reduce this in some way. And I think it's better to leave this very open, especially this early on in the game, because then, let's say I do end up giving my opponent a larger area, and let's just kick here and do this sort of thing. Like if we ever come in to sort of fight here, the more strength that my opponent has on the outside, the more difficult it will be to fight. Let's say we play on the second line here to stop this stone from living by sliding or attaching. When we come over here, we don't actually have to protect this cutting point because we can live in the corner separately by blocking like this. And then you can kind of see that this area doesn't really have that much eye shape right now. We can even We could even attach if we really wanted to. Let's do it this way. And you can see sort of a peep here. But you can see there's only sort of one eye, potentially. And so if black is really worried about something, they could always have the opportunity to come back and connect. But if white goes to push and cut instead, let's have them push and cut, then we can just Hane in the corner and be alive. And white will have to try to live here, but it's going to be very difficult. And so even if we mess this up, even if they do live here, it's good to practice. It's good to leave this open. And I would only ever close this area off and finish it off and make sure there's no way for my opponent to live after we've played these other big moves on the board. So I probably wouldn't play this as white. But after we get this move here, and after they try to do something on this side and we defend again, and we'll just have them defend and play a bunch of moves, right? But we're going to finish the rest of the game first, and then we're going to deal with this. We don't want to do it right away. But this is how I would want them to play a little bit more. I like this attach on top quite a bit more, or even just backing off. Backing off is a safer way. If he really was worried about invading, in my invasion, then backing off is the easier way to deal with that. Because you're connecting your stones a little bit, leaving less space for me to try to live with. But because they did this, I end up getting a nice advantage. And then we do give them the opportunity to sort of attack us to some extent. But they don't really know how they're going to attack us. They don't really know what profit they're going to get. And I'm okay with this sort of thing because I'm stronger than my opponent for right now. And so we can keep playing these moves. And we need to focus on the fact that when we're surrounded now, we just need to become even stronger. So I make an eye. They try to escape. We surround. And then they try to live. We just play basic moves to poke at the eye shape. And then when we're done, now that they're stronger, they're probably alive now. I'm probably dead now. But now they're stronger. They have all their liberties defined. I want to make sure that we're just alive. So I went back to just living. I didn't necessarily go and make sure they were 100% dead. I was playing the standard shape moves. If they had just answered me instead, like this, maybe I could try to kill, right? You could do something like this and the group's going to die. But it's better to probably just go back to live now. This is what I was going to do. And then if they want to live, right? Like let's say they play this move. And I think that should be alive for now. Then they're just going to lose a couple more points on the bottom side. And that's all. And I'm okay with that. But as I said during the game, I think it's kind of interesting that the main difference in just one game, it's not like 5 games yet, but the main difference I saw in this game was that my opponent was much more focused on the weakness of their area and the weakness of my areas. I'd be very interested to see if that continues on as we play more games here. That could provide us a little bit of insight into how to get stronger from 10Q going up to 7Q. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. Hope you guys had a lot of fun and have a good day.